So, what I wanted to talk to today was about the Bitcoin Unlimited SegWit civil war that's happening in Bitcoin and how bad it's getting. Firstly, I want to say the slanderous comments on both sides that are happening, that needs to end. I literally logged on to the Bitcoin subreddit like I do a million times a day, and someone from RBDC, had an advertisement at the top of the Reddit Bitcoin subreddit, advertising against the, supposed censorship of the Bitcoin subreddit. So, it's just blatantly disrespectful. Okay? It really is. Secondly, I think there's actually very good points on both sides. The primary one that, Roger Ver seems to be advocating, which is true, as I've experienced it, is that the Reddit Bitcoin subreddit does appear to be censored. And I ended up actually feeling a bit of it myself. I ended up creating a post and posting about Dash, and the title said something along the lines of, the reason why Dash is increasing in price is because it's a direct bet against Bitcoin, or a hedge against Bitcoin, and that was the title. And it's for obvious reasons, right? We all know that Dash is increasing in value because it supposedly has all the features that is preventing Bitcoin from scaling, right? And we all saw the dramatic price rise from $20 to $60 that happened, recently. And I literally just posted it as a title, and I get a message from a moderator. It's informing me that I'm banned for 3 days and that I should stop pumping altcoins, right? And so, to say that censorship isn't occurring on the Bitcoin subreddit, it clearly is. And, I don't know what to, I literally don't even know what to say to that, right? Because, we need to have obviously a fair and open and transparent community. But then we also need to stop this political slandering, right, on both sides. So, I want to put that to rest, but I just wanted to sort of, share my comments on the slandering, as well as, the supposed censorship, that's happening on the Bitcoin subreddit. With respect to the SegWit Bitcoin Unlimited debate, I do believe that each one of us need to pick a side. After the Bitcoin ETF decision that's coming out this week, I do plan on buying a full node and signaling for SegWit, because I do believe that you need to pick a side. I think that you need to have a voice, and that all of us here that are supposedly following Bitcoin and reading about Bitcoin and own Bitcoin need to take personal responsibility for our community and our currency. And if you don't have $250 to purchase a full node and begin to contribute, perhaps you're having financial challenges that different, but if you can afford it, I think it's a great way to become involved in community and help settle this debate. All right, so now I want to talk about why I'm supporting SegWit. I hope that all of you saw the recent Roger Ver debate, and I think it was Johnny from Blockstream, that happened last week. And if you haven't watched it, you really should, because it really does answer a number of questions that I had, and you also really get a good understanding of it helps clear some of the noise that's happening on the various subreddits, right? You really don't want to be making this very important protocol upgrade decision based on random people that are hiding behind hidden identities and screen names on the subreddit that you don't know who they are, right? Much the same way that you wouldn't vote for a president, based off of if you didn't know who they were, right? Or they didn't have clear and transparent debates, right? You'd want to actually go and, watch how they debate and ask them questions. And, I felt like the Roger Ver debate that happened a couple days ago with Johnny from Blockstream was, our best example of that. Okay. And, firstly, I have to say, I felt like Johnny came across as just extraordinarily intelligent, measured, composed, and had just brought thoughtful logic that I appreciated. And Johnny Ver did that to a large extent too, but it was very clear towards the middle of the debate and towards the end of the debate, when the conversation became more heated, that Johnny Ver constantly appealed to authority, and in a summarized version somehow said, I've been using Bitcoin the longest. I've been doing it for 8 years. I spend Bitcoin every day. And therefore, since I'm the most active user, then we should do what I think. And he constantly basically reiterated that point many times. And, I'm summarizing it a bit. It wasn't that, it wasn't that like cavalier, shall we say, but it was very, very clear that, he thinks that his platform and protocol, which is Bitcoin Limited, is by far the best protocol upgrade that we should make. And many times he would just say, well, because I use it the most and I'm the most avid Bitcoin user. And that's just factually and foundationally untrue, right? Bitcoin is not yet a currency yet. Okay, it's a store of value, right? It will not become a currency until literally all of us are buying stuff using transacting in a normal currency, right? The way that we can use it for day-to-day purposes. Right now, it's a speculative. Right now, Bitcoin is a speculative sort of wealth preservation tool, similar to gold, that we are all using to, hopefully build the Bitcoin ecosystem so that it can become a currency. So the argument that we can't use Bitcoin like a currency right now, in my view, is a bit of a moot point, because guess what? Tomorrow I don't plan on buying my Starbucks using Bitcoin. I don't think it's that important today. Do I think it's important in the future? Absolutely. Do I think it's important today? No. But I do believe it's foundationally important in the future. So, Roger Ver's constant sort of appeal to authority, and that authority should be him as the central figure. I'm not sure, as a random Bitcoiner, how much I appreciate that, right? Even though I do sort of attest to his large Bitcoin resume, his large Bitcoin holdings, and like basically the amount of his life he's dedicated to Bitcoin. And I think that we're all foundationally grateful for that. Okay, I think that he's done great work, and nobody's ignoring that. But that being said, I don't think that just because you've been around the longest and transact the most, that is the reason why we should use your protocol upgrade, right? Sorry, there's a homeless person yelling at me there. Let me just move over. She's yelling. She's gonna come over and steal my Bitcoin here in a second. All right, so where was I? So, Roger Ver's appeal to authority doesn't mean that you should use his protocol. The reason why we should use his protocol is based on his logical arguments that support Bitcoin Unlimited. And in the debate that I saw between Roger Ver and Anthony, it became very clear that the SegWit option just logically made more sense based on the protocol structure of Bitcoin today. Right now, we are seeing a rise in mining fees, and it's creating a large moral hazard that didn't exist before. And that is the moral hazard of the miners working in their own short-term best interests, right? And basically, my understanding of the key differences between the two protocols are that, basically, Bitcoin Unlimited hands control over the network to the miners, right? And if you know anything about short-term incentive structures, you will realize that in the short term, it's very logical for individuals to always act in their best interest in the short term, even though it may corrupt or not be in their best interest in the long term, right? And the best example of that is the 2008 financial crisis, okay? So banks basically lent out a bunch of money, they made a bunch of bad loans, people made a bunch of commissions in the short term today, and they collapsed the system tomorrow, right? And so we had a boom and bust cycle, right? And it's very, very important, that we as Bitcoiners do not allow that same sort of short-term incentivized structure to exist. And in my view, what SegWit is doing by appropriately restricting the block size while also providing highly optimized solutions to both reduce the amount of information being included in the blockchain, thereby increasing the volume of transactions going through, while also taking transactions off-chain, are fair, reasonable, and important protocol upgrades that will occur and are required to occur. And I don't think it's something as simplistic as just increasing the block size and allowing the miners to have more and more control of the network. As a non-miner, I want the miners to have some control because clearly they contribute massively to the network, but I don't think they should have majority control. And majority control constitutes the price of a transaction. And if I have the structure in place to create these large mining pools where we collude together on block size, thereby increasing fees to ourselves, that's wrong. And that seeks to basically undermine the exact issue that we are trying to get rid of in Bitcoin, which is basically the current regulatory structure in place where banks can conclude together on stuff like interest rates and agree on a fixed rate and make a bunch of money trading off it, which happens all the time, right? And basically what we're doing with Bitcoin is we're allowing, or potentially allowing, certain users of our community to do that. And I'm just saying there's a risk of that. I'm not saying it is happening. I'm saying there's a large risk of that happening. And so if we can, shift the balance of power in a very real and meaningful way to other users of the network, I think that makes a lot of sense to me. So I am not a Bitcoin Unlimited or SegWit expert, but I am someone who's read a lot about it for the last 2 months. And so if I can't explain it to you the way I explain it to you, talking like a normal person, if I'm getting some facts wrong or right, it shouldn't really be my fault. And the reason why it shouldn't be my fault is I read about Bitcoin Unlimited and SegWit 2 hours a day for the last 30 to 60 days. And if I'm getting something wrong, it's because either party is not communicating it clearly. And that's a problem. So that's basically my understanding of the network, or the various networks at play here. And I really hope that we can come to a conclusion soon. Thank you.